Okay, so I am back up here to do a little bit more of an introduction related to today in the AESQ. I want to thank the Rolls-Royce leadership team for that really fantastic introduction, setting the stage on where the business is today from a Rolls-Royce perspective. And as I was listening to it, I was thinking, this is exactly what we're doing at GE Aerospace too. I'm pretty sure that Safran is having the same message. I'm pretty sure that Pratt Whitney has the same message, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's absolutely applicable to all of us. The other thing I don't want to undervalue is the knowledge the leadership has of the quality standards, what the requirements are, and what's needed to happen. So many times as we're going through changes with our company, sometimes it feels like in quality, we are, going against the grain and sometimes not working with the leadership, but against the leadership as we're trying to further quality and advance the situation. Making the leadership more knowledgeable and having them understand so much about what we need to do and want to do is absolutely, to me, phenomenal. Okay. Let me see if this clicker actually works. Okay. So, as an introduction to today, we thought we'd point out a couple nice to have. So we have over 140 people. We were about up to almost 150 people here today, or maybe coming in throughout the day from over 18 countries. We like to do supplier forums in different locations. So some in the US, some in Europe, you have UK, Asia, to make sure that it's easier for you to come to us. And so, okay. So supplier forums, yes, you're here at one today. Pre-COVID, we were doing about 1 to 2 per year. And it was typically shifting. We do like one in the US, and then later in the year, one in Europe, flip to the next year, one in Asia to try and rotate it around. The pandemic came, everything came to a halt. And then we took a little bit of a pause and then started to do a lot of virtual events, which was really great because we were able to communicate with more people. So we definitely saw a lot of benefit to it, but we really missed the face-to-face. I mean, you'll see throughout the day, this should be a pretty interactive day. It's not just going to be a presentation all day where you sit there. We have a couple different activities. Like I said, where you can talk, you can meet people, and you can ask questions that are fresh on your mind. So now we've picked up the pace a little bit. Starting last year as travel picked up, we did a couple at the end of the year. We're doing this one. We're doing one at GE Aerospace in Cincinnati in a month from now. And then we'll have probably another one at the end of the year. So the idea is to mix a little bit up related to this. Okay, finally figured it out. Okay, so from a, just an introduction perspective, we are here mostly to talk about the 13,100, AS 13,100 issuance, the incorporation of it in our standards related to all of the AESQ member companies and essentially propulsion suppliers as we flow that down. And then the purpose of getting together and all that we do at AESQ is to say, how can we help make this easier for you? And how can we give you the tools and the information necessary to work this throughout your organizations? So we've developed numerous reference manuals related to each of the different areas of 13,100 specification that you can take, you can use, you can take the webinars and work that in throughout your companies. We don't want you to have to create new things. We want to make this as easy as possible for you. Just a reminder, we did hear the safety video earlier, so I think that covered quite a bit of it. We'll have several breaks today, so the breaks, the lunches. Let's just make sure we come back on time as we get started so we can stay on track. And silent cell phones. So I think that's really all I need to say about this. We've all been in a lot of meetings throughout our careers. Going over the agenda for today. So we were a little out of whack there, but we did, had the Rolls-Royce welcome and really appreciate their time again and their ability to host it here. Then we're going to go over what the AESQ is. I think we probably have a little bit of a mix here where some of you have actually been in the AESQ and part of the AESQ, are on some of the subject matter interest groups and are very well aware. Some of you might just be joining for the first time and you're interested in learning more about what AESQ is and how we're going to go about it. So we're going to go over that, what we are, our vision and objectives. Then we're going to go through the AS 13100 standard, go through the overview, talk about what's in it and what are some of the expectations there. Then talk about deployment and transition into that. So this was published, a 1.5 years ago. We've had it in our specifications as of January 1st. It will be required, but we put it in well in advance. Like I said, we've had virtual supplier forums, in-person supplier forums, numerous webinars, just trying to get the message out. And so this is actually talking about how we've worked to deployment and then how we want to continue to work towards deployment as we're on this journey together. It's not over, right? January 1st was a date that was set out there, but we're partners till the end, right? Next, we'll have, this is really after a break there. We're going to have a best practices on human factors. I think it's a fantastic, way to look at human factors. Very impressive from the Rolls-Royce team has developed that we can all kind of take back with us, and it's a new way to look at it. And then we'll have some breakout sessions related to our subject matter interest groups, which reflect back to the reference manuals. So those reference manuals are very beneficial to all of us. And this is an opportunity, actually, you can see the blue and the posters around the room. Those are each, one of the reference manuals, and you can go in there and talk to the subject matter interest leader. So then we have a group photo. I believe it's going to be out in that main area, and lunch. Come back, we'll talk about training. Then we'll have our second breakout session where we're gonna play a game on zero defects. And then we're going to have a frequently asked question panel at the end. So we'll have several of our businesses. You can see we have Rolls-Royce represented, as well as MTU, GKN, et cetera, Honeywell, talking about answering your questions on 13,100. Then we'll talk about how to get involved if you'd like. Okay. So I would like everybody to get out their phones. Something we use for this event is Slido. And I don't know if that's used here at Rolls-Royce much. I mean, we use it at GE Aerospace on a, I think, minute-by-minute basis, it feels like sometimes. But you'll have a QR code at your table. There's a paper. Or you can just put your phone up here and take this QR code and get in. This is something we're going to use throughout the day, so we're going to do this right now to be able to make sure we can all get in. There are TVs around if you want to use those, or the paper that's on your table. The passcode is at the very bottom. You're going to want to put the passcode in, which is CY7VWF, and make sure you can get in. Okay, so I'll keep that up for a second. So as you get in, you'll see we're going to ask several poll questions throughout the day, and that's where you'll answer it. We're also there's also a Q&A session that throughout the day, no matter who's talking, you can put in a question and then vote that question up or down so that we can see, okay, this is a question 20 people had. We're going to answer that. I'm going to move on to this. You do have the paper on your table if you'd like to use that QR code. So you can see here on the left, for those of you that haven't used it before, for those of you that have, I'm sure this is pretty basic. But on the left, you'll see where it says polls. There's Q&A and polls. It will pop up automatically as you log in when we issue a poll. You'll answer it and then hit send. It'll group together and we'll be able to see where you land. Also throughout the day, just click over on the Q&A, type in your question, enter, and then that will be there. Make sure you kind of look to see if anybody else has already asked that question. We don't need the question asked 8 times. Go ahead and like it, and then it will pop up to the top so that we can ensure we ask. And those will be answered in the FAQ session at the end of the day. So I think that that's a good opportunity. Anytime, just go ahead and enter it. Okay, first poll question, example. What's the name of the city where you live? So if you go ahead and type that in. And if you don't have your phones out, I suggest that you do. Otherwise, you'll be very kind of not. We have surveys throughout the day that we're going to ask you what kind of help can we have in questions. So just letting you know. So majority from Derby. Nottingham, Sheffield, okay. It's amazing, it's very different depending on where we do these supplier forums. Orlando, Los Angeles. Market Harbor, okay. I have to say there's several of these cities I haven't heard. This is great. Tokyo, I think Tokyo is a winner. It's a battle between Nottingham and Derby, I think, is the most popular locations. So, good, easy. So I hope that helps really just kind of understand how to use the tool. Like I said, highly suggest you log in and get that going. We are going to be asking in separate sessions throughout the rest of the day, how can we help? What issues are you having the most? Without that information, we really don't know where to work next. Of course, we work individually with each of your companies. If we are the OEM, if you're doing a GE engine or a Pratt engine or a Rolls-Royce engine, Safran engine. But as an AESQ, that's why it's really important that we want to work together as well. So you're not having to kind of always work individually with us. Okay, awesome. A lot of different locations. Okay, and my last question here before we move on is what function are you in? So there's several different options, quality, manufacturing engineering, purchasing, design engineering, production. Anxious to see what this looks like, what our population here looks like. We anticipate a lot of quality folks, but are very, very appreciative of non-quality folks being here too. And I think what we're gonna see is the fact that we are majority quality. This is a team sport. So next time we need to kind of bring our friends along and help them to understand, like I said, from a leadership perspective, or even your production counterpart or your sourcing counterpart, how much do they understand what the quality standards are and why we ask for what we ask for? It's really not to be challenging and difficult. It's because we need better product for our customers. We need to spend less money on concessions, right? We need to spend less time working a concession activity. So this is phenomenal. So we appreciate everybody being here. It's really interesting to see how many quality versus non-quality are here, but we absolutely appreciate the manufacturing engineers and design engineers and production and purchasing people that are here trying to learn more about supplier quality flow down and hopefully what they can do to participate in the journey. Okay, so I'm gonna jump along because like I said, we went a little bit out of order and get to Jim. Okay, so Jim, I'll hand this to you. Jim is the Supplier Quality and Development Manager from Pratt Whitney, Canada, and he's gonna give us an overview of AESQ.
So basically, what is the history of the AESQ? How did we get to where we are today with our AS 13100? So these are basically, this was a picture in 2012, basically, when the team started to get together. This is what we were facing as an industry. Okay, and I'm not gonna read every single one of them. We all know what this is like. We all know what's been going on with the number of aviation flights that are happening, airline passengers. I mean, yes, COVID put a big dip into that, but still expect the aviation industry to take off over the next 10, 20 years. We know that's going to be a challenge for all of us, which means it's going to be a challenge for all of you. We know that we are talking about a wide range of suppliers from, I'm familiar with a supplier that's $25,000 a year, and the other one is $2.2 billion a year. This is the wide range of suppliers that we are trying to work with. This is our target market, our customers for AS 13100, for the things that we're trying to do with quality. So again, it's something we all share. You'll see in a little bit later, actually, that we know that we have common suppliers between the manufacturers. We share suppliers. You provide to most of us, or some of us, or at least one of us, and whatever we do together as a team, we improve everything for all of us. So that was the basis for it. We started to get together. We started to have these conversations. We figured out a way that we could all be in the same room, work together on this, and actually not violate any of the antitrust laws that we all have to live with. This was the picture in 2012. I'm just going to take a second. Sorry for the gravelly voice. It's one of those chest colds that refuses to go away. So basically in 2012, this is what we had. This was the starting point. You had regulatory stuff. You had our customers' requirements. You had various industry documents that were already out there. But you had these large company-specific requirements documents, okay? And these are the four main ones. You as suppliers, if you had 3 or 4 of these customers as your customers, would have to have compliant requirements to each one of those customers. I'll take the simplest of examples, document retention. AS 9100, which is the basis for our industry, doesn't have any document retention requirements. It says you shall manage your documents in an appropriate way. So each one of us has document retention requirements, this many for 2 years, this many for 10 years, and you as a supplier would have to make sure that you comply to each one of those various requirements, okay? The vision and where we are today, the reason that AS 13100 is what it is because we realize we all have these document retention requirements. They're basically all the same thing. Why can't we agree on one set, put it in a single document? Now suppliers only have to worry about one requirement for document retention. That is what AS 13100 is, okay? You can talk about some of the other things. And that's how we get to it. So yes, we are still going to have some company-specific requirements. As the Rolls-Royce gentleman said, you know, we do need a couple of little extra things. But for the most part, any supplier that's compliant to 13100 is going to make most of his or her customers happy with only a little bit of side stuff that each, of course, we're different companies, so we'll have specific things that we need. So we went from you having to worry about all of these company-specific requirements to only worrying about one document and then maybe a little bit extra. But once you did the one compliance document, all of your customers were going to be mostly happy. And that was hopefully going to simplify the compliance for our supply base. So, you know, we're hearing feedback from the supply base about the actual document, but the goal was to simplify your lives and not have you to have compliance to 14 different documents possibly. This is our vision. Again, all of what I've just described, you know, our vision is 0 defects. How do we get to 0 defects? We basically want a common set of requirements. I mean, those of you before AS 13100, we had the AS 13000 series of documents. So over the years, we've been developing certain subjects, the documents that address those subjects, in a standard way for all of the members of the AESQ. We've been requiring those of you for years and years and years. And now AS 13100 has replaced all of those various documents, put everything into one place, added in a couple of extra subjects, which you'll be able to talk to about the rest of the room and the rest of the day. But basically, it's the one-stop shop for quality system requirements and APQP and PPAP for all of your Aero Engine customers. Again, the principles that support that vision: standardize, common language, build on existing industry standards. So you'll see a number of AS9 XXX standards being called out by 13100. We're not going to reinvent PPAP. AS 9145 does that. AS 9100, as I said, is the basis for our whole industry. So AS 13100 is written as supplemental requirements to AS 9100. And it's written in the same manner. Sorry, you know, another drink. Simple, prescriptive, and auditable. Okay, we took a lot of time to make sure that the AS 13100 requirements were simple and understandable. Did we get there 100%? Probably not, because we have been gathering feedback for almost 2 years now. We thought it would be understood this way, and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes language is the issue, but we will continue to work towards simple, prescriptive, and auditable. To deliver results quickly, we published it almost 2 years ago. We published it in March of 2021. We've given all suppliers all the warning they needed, that the January 1st deadline this year should have been achievable. We'll see some information about that in a little while as well. Promote the use of standardized third-party training. So one of the first ever 13,000 series documents was a 13,001, which is the DPRV training standard. So all of your DPRVs, or for us, DQRs, are going to a single industry course, the one that's generated by SAE. That hopefully allowed you to, simplify your training of your DPRVs. You didn't have to send them to the Pratt Whitney training and then send them to the GE training and then send them to the Rolls-Royce training. It was one set of trainings. Of course, there's going to be company-specific items, usually related to a website, but that's the kind of thing that we're trying to do. So again, one standard, one set of training for that standard, and you're going to get the training summary in a little bit, but one training for all your customers to make sure that you're able to be compliant to the requirement. These are the members. There are 10 voting members. You can see who those are. All but 2 are basically involved in the manufacture or certification of engines or significant parts of engines. Plus we have 2 major suppliers to all of us, Howmet and PCC. Everybody in the room probably has knowledge of those 2 guys. So yes, all large companies. We have associated members, which are not voting members, but they're members of the AESQ. And what we are trying to do there is get more voices into the AESQ. Small little companies, bigger companies, but companies that are design responsible companies, not manufacturers companies. So you'll see at the end of the day, I think one of the last items is how you can get involved. We welcome additional members. These members participate on our subject matter interest groups. They bring knowledge to the table. They bring their view of the world to the table. So we as multi-billion-dollar corporations may see this, but the 20-person or 25-person shop may see it another way, and we need to understand that when we put out our documents. These are our wonderful voting members. There's a rotation of the chairman, did it say? Okay, well, Barbara's our chairperson for now. So every 3 years we rotate that through, but some of these voting members have been on for years and years and years. And of course, all the 10 companies are represented. The last slide, I'm just going to introduce this. We're going to run a video. The video is basically, what it does is, what it used to do originally was put together the relationship between the AS 13,000 spec and 13,002, 13,004, 13,006. Now those are all in AS 13,100. But what it will do is start talking about the reference material documents and how those reference material documents fit into the grander scheme of how we get to 0 defects. It's available on our website, the AESQ website. If you haven't seen this before, it kind of really helps to say, oh, I see how that interacts with that. Okay, so we shall run that while I get a drink.
Today, more than 3 billion passengers travel by air every year, and this is set to double over the next 20 years. These air passengers trust us with their lives. Naturally, our customers expect us to deliver defect-free products and services every single time. After all, that's our promise. But how do we guarantee 0 defects when we know that inspection can never be 100% effective at sorting the good from the bad? The answer is to avoid producing defects in the first place. To this end, defect prevention activities are built into our advanced product quality planning and process control requirements as an end-to-end process, with each step being integral to defect-free production. Here's how it works. Firstly, we have product quality planning. This is where the design team works directly with the customer to understand what the product needs to do. From this, a product design can be created. Cross-functional teams then carry out design risk analysis to ensure that potential design risks are identified, understood, and mitigated. There are a number of ways this might be carried out. For example, by using a design failure mode and effects analysis tool. Next, the team designs and develops a capable manufacturing process to make the product. Any risk of this process bringing about non-conformance is evaluated using a process FMEA, and any such risks are mitigated to ensure that the manufacturing or assembly process will produce defect-free products. The appropriate levels of defect prevention controls are defined using the relevant information. For high-severity risks, we must strive for mistake-proofing, while we can address other risks through statistical process control, inspection, or audit. All this is captured in the control plan. We then ensure the capability of the measurement and visual inspection methods required by the control plan. Once verified, we can start to measure the capability of the process to ensure it makes defect-free parts. The Delegated Product Release Verification Program provides a common standard for inspector competency and qualifications. Once in production, the role of manufacturing and assembly is not just to maintain the initial capability level, but to continually improve it to ensure customer and business targets are met. Moreover, data from our processes and inspection must be used to control the process by allowing us to take action before defects are made. If things do go wrong, our problem-solving process must identify and eliminate the root cause so that it cannot happen again. Furthermore, learning from the investigation needs to be fed back into the FMEA, enabling it to be captured and shared. The Aero Engine Supplier Quality Group standards have been created to provide clear requirements on how these defect prevention tools are to be effectively deployed. There is a clear expectation that each of us will deploy these requirements and cascade them down through our supply chain. The final stage of our defect prevention process is an effective audit of the quality system, manufacturing processes, products, and special processes. This review reinforces compliance and can identify further opportunities for improvement. Of course, to be effective, all these tools rely on good cross-functional working and leadership that creates an environment intolerant of non-conformance. After all, defect prevention is a key route to achieving our promise of defect-free products and services. AESQ, raising the standard for quality.
Okay. And again, a lot of those RMs that were put in there, you will be able to twice today stop and talk to the leaders of those teams and ask some questions or find out a little bit more or point you in the right direction to get more information off of our website, which has a ton of information.